Here's England's green and pleasant land. But perhaps the future of British farming is this: a writhing mass of larvae bred now as animal feed, but also making its way to your dinner plate as global warming forces a radical shift in how we cultivate food. Today, the Committee on Climate Change published its latest report, warning that the government has failed to put a single policy in place to make its 2050 net zero target a reality. They say this has created a credibility gap for the government and raised doubts about Britain's ability to deal with the climate crisis.
I think our credibility is really at stake if we don't see some action and policy. It's not enough to have a net zero target. It's very welcome that we have it. You must also have the policies to meet it.
As well as urgent action on transport and home heating, the CCC said in the next 12 months farming should be a key focus. Over the last 10 years, while total greenhouse gas emissions have fallen by more than a quarter, in agriculture emissions have actually gone backwards. In farming, you can see the problem on any field. Livestock produces a massive 14.5% of global gas emissions. That's why, unless the world of farming changes, it'll be hard to make any of the targets stick.
Climate change is the challenge of our time, if you like.
Minette Batters insists farmers want to be part of the solution, which is why they've signed up to eliminating carbon emissions 10 years earlier than the government's target. So what's the problem?
Farmers feel really vilified when they get this continual attack. Nobody is attacking people for using a mobile phone, buying a computer, buying a television. Why does it have to be this anti-meat agenda?
Where's the evidence that farming communities can change?
It is about the partnership approach. Over 70% of the UK is a farmed landscape. So making sure we have sustainable, and I mean economically sustainable farming businesses is going to be vital. One of our red lines is this must not impact on net farm income for farmers.
But what does that mean? Does the government have to find a subsidy, pay farms not to produce food?
There is going to need to be public investment because you can't tackle climate change without everybody having an investment in our future.
And what of the recommendation that livestock numbers need to be cut by 20%? Is this something that farmers in the UK are willing to sign up to?
No, and nor are we, because we absolutely don't think that it is necessary.
The cattle and sheep account for more than half, 58% of agriculture emissions here in the UK. You can't have zero and have exactly the same number of livestock, can you?
You can. You absolutely can.
The NFU point to academic research showing the impact of genetic modification on cows, both to alter their digestion and shorten their lifespans, both of which could radically cut their methane releases. Along with the NFU's two red lines, no cut in farmers' income and no change to the number of cattle, questions are also being asked about farming's reliance on red diesel, which currently enjoys a mammoth government subsidy. The red diesel lower rate costs £2.4 billion a year. That's a massive subsidy to a fuel that contributes to climate change. Do you accept that can't go on?
It's part of the net zero agenda. But look, the focus, what government in the world wants to see food inflation?
Would farmers support a move away from that?
The technology needs to be speeded up. When the technology is there and can be rolled out, absolutely they'll embrace it.
But the Climate Change Committee say the time for action is now.
The voluntary approach that we've had on farming to date hasn't shown big impact.
It hasn't worked.
I don't think it has worked. If we don't change farming practice, then there are a much tougher set of decisions that will come later on down the line.
Could the answer lie underneath some railway arches in London? Here, Entercycle have a lab breeding 10 million mouthless black soldier flies. They lay eggs, a new type of super larvae, grown 2,000 times fatter on beer and coffee waste. Eventually they're dried and ground into a soft powder that smells rather nutty. They're destined for animal feed, fish, pigs and poultry, but they're also mixed into pasta, ultimately with the aim to replace our protein intake from meat.
So 5 years ago when I started this, people looked at me crazy. Like, why would you be farming insects? Every second we cut down a football-sized field of rainforest, our population are crashing in the oceans. We can
Are
farm.
insects the answer though?
They are one of the key answers. We can farm them locally and we can make sure that it's done in a safe and secure way where there's no biodiversity damaged.
Can you really see a time where insects are going to replace beef,
So
steak?
Completely. 20 years ago, people would turn the nose up at sushi, and now look, in every single corner you have a sushi bar.
You don't think there'd be the yuck factor when people think about larvae and flies and insects being part of their meals?
So I think already you have a growing, sustainably conscious, younger population who will be the ones who will be picking this up. So insects are here to stay, and humans will be eating them within the next 5 or so years.
Just a month ago, Theresa May made clear that the commitment to zero carbon would be a key part of her legacy. But not everything goes as planned. Today's rebuke from the Committee on Climate Change will mean the in-tray for the next Prime Minister will be even more urgent if the government's legal promises are to carry any weight.